Hey, gang. Let's talk about pictographs. Pictograph. A pictograph is a graph that uses a picture to represent the data. Okay? One of the first things you want to always do on a pictograph is find what we call the key. All right? It's usually going to be at the bottom of the pictograph, and it will usually say key. I realize that mine doesn't. All right? This key is not something that you use to open a door. This key is telling you what the symbol in the graph means. So you see I've got my little stick figure here, and it says for every stick figure that I see, that equals 10 students. So on my graph, every time I see a stick figure, that's going to be 10 people. All right, it says, how do we get to school? That's the title of my graph. All right, and my graph shows 4 different ways that kids get to school. They ride the bus, they walk, they ride in the car, or they ride their bike. Okay, you don't find too many kids riding their bikes to school anymore, but when I was a kid, people used to ride their bikes to school. Now, every time we see a stick figure, it's how many people? Look at the key. It's going to be 10 on this one. The key changes all the time. The key is not always 10. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 1. You have to look for that key first. Then a good thing for you to do would be to look at each one, look at each item that's on your pictograph, and go ahead and figure out the total for that heading. Golly, it ran out of my head. Find the total for that heading and write it on there. That way you're not having to count it all over again. Okay? Go ahead and write it on there. So let's do the bus people first. I've got, remember, each one is 10, right? I've got 10, 20, 30, 40. Uh-oh. That's not a whole stick figure. That's only half a stick figure. Why in the world would that? Oh, I know why they did half a stick figure, because it's only half of that amount. If a whole stick figure is 10, what's half of one? What's half a stick figure? Well, it's going to be half of 10, isn't it? That half is going to be 5. Let's go count that again. 10, 20, 30, 40, and 5 makes 45. There are going to be 45 kids who rode the bus. 45, because it's half of that amount. I have one stick figure for the walking kids. Does that mean 1 kid? No, it means 10. Kids who rode the car, 10, 20, 30. And for bikes, again, I have a half a stick figure. Half a stick figure is half of 10, which is 5. So now that I've done that, now I have this, and I can answer all the questions based on those numbers. I don't have to keep counting. Okay? Does it make sense? Now, I want to go back to the half a stick figure for a minute. What if my key was, instead of 10, what if my key was 4? Well, then what would half be? Then it would have to be half of 4, right? And half of 4 would be 2. Okay, if it was 8, half of 8 would be 4. You have to find half of that amount. But I'm going to go ahead and put my 10 back. All right. Now that I have the numbers, now I just have to go in and answer whatever questions are asked. Okay, so if you had a question, how do most kids get to school? Well, most of the kids get to school by doing what? They ride the bus. Okay. What's the least popular way to get to school? Well, the least popular way, the one with the least amount, would be by the bike. Okay? And then you're going to get into questions with things like, this would be a good one. How many kids get to school using wheels? How many kids get to school using wheels? Oh, you got to think a little bit there. Using wheels. Well, you got to go through all these and see what ways use wheels. Do buses use wheels? Yes, we're going to have to count those kids. Does walking use wheels? No. Do cars use wheels? Yes. Do bikes use wheels? Yes. So I've got to use this, this, and this. I've got to put them all together, right? So what can I do? I can certainly add. I can certainly do that, right? I can go back and I can count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 75, 80. I could do that. I could count the symbols, okay? But I've got to make sure I count all of those because they all use wheels. You got to pay attention to what you're being asked, right? Okay. Let's see. What if you were asked how many more children rode the bus than in a car? All right, when you have how many more, those 3 words, or how much more or how much less, You're asked to compare two groups. Whenever you're comparing two groups, okay, you're doing subtraction. All right? How many more are here than here? All right, you're doing subtraction. So I'd want to do 45 minus 30. And 45 minus 30 is 15. Now, we could also use the graph to do the how many more. We could do that here, look. Same, same, same. Okay, the how many more, that's the more part, right? And that's 15. That's what we got there, isn't it? Okay? You've got to pay attention to questions that you're being asked. All right? Are you being asked to put groups together? Are you being asked to subtract or compare things? All right? Let's do another how many more. So again, we get the idea of subtracting. How many more kids got to school by car than by walking? How many more? Well, 30 minus 10, right? How many more? 30 kids got there by car, 10 kids got there walking. How many more? 20. I could have done this, right? They're the same. That's the part that's more. 10, 20. Make sense? All right. So you've got to use your graph. Look at your key first, right? Look at the key. And then you want to find your totals for each heading and do that first. So you have the numbers that you know that you have to work with. And then you can simply answer the questions. Am I adding them? Or does it want to know a total? Am I putting a group together? Or am I subtracting? Am I comparing? Whenever you compare two groups, you want to subtract them. Okay? All right. There should be a corresponding worksheet for you to click on. It'll have a graph on it and ask you some questions. It'll give you a chance to practice. Look at your key. Do that first. And then find your totals for each heading. All right? Work hard. I'm proud of you.